So I'm representing Philip Payne, who's the current director of our Transitional Data Analytics Initiative across the university, which is the first funded discovery theme for the university. I suspect you've heard about discovery themes already a little bit today. No, yes? Yes. Okay. So Philip wasn't able to be here, so I'm going to be his stand-in, which means I got to modify his presentation in a way he might not like, but he's not here. So I'm going to try to tell you something about what is now called translational data analytics. Originally started off just being called data analytics across the university. And because Philip comes from biomedical informatics, it has taken on this very biomedical translational name. But the idea is to really be able to solve data analytics, provide data analytics solutions for a variety of real-world applications. And since Tom mentioned it, you guys have been talking about social media and Twitter information. In reality, data analytics is sort of the most relevant buzzword that has been created of late. But it really is a problem that has existed for a long time. So I'm actually an organic chemist. I'm actually a computational organic chemist. My students on a regular basis generate terabytes worth of data in terms of molecular modeling for biochemical systems and then try to analyze that data. That is data analytics as well. But it's really only in the realm of the recent history of the dramatic increases in computing, the dramatic increases in what we can store, that data analytics has really hit its stride. So if you think about how long we heard about people trying to be able to annotate the human genome, how it was a decade-long problem. People can now actually annotate a genome in a day, storing terabytes worth of data on these high-throughput sequencing equipment really, really rapidly. You have companies like Macy's or Kroger's trying to be able to take as much advantage out of their supply stream, trying to be able to maximize their products as quickly as possible by being able to learn everything about you when you come into their gas station, when you enter their store. If you have turned on your iBeacon technology on your iPhone, so when you walk into a Kroger, so they know that you have walked through the door, which aisle you're in. I was talking to a startup a little while ago, developing technology so they can figure out within 3 feet where you are in a store, so that they can figure out whether you're trying to buy the Heinz ketchup or the Kroger ketchup. So then they can figure out whether they want to send you a coupon that particular instant so you can buy the Kroger ketchup, which is 2 feet to your right. Okay? And doing that on the fly, being able to aggregate that data, being able to collect whatever this big data happens to be. Sometimes we get a little nervous about it when that happens to be a national security agency trying to collect that big data, which can be used to protect us, can also be used to do other things we might not like. Then figuring out what are the theoretical methods as well as computational algorithms you need to be able to analyze that on whatever time frame you care about. We've always been doing big computation. That's how you do a weather forecast. But can you now take that large aggregated set of data with lots and lots of noise and be able to come up with some implementation that you can then decide what to do? The example that I like to use is Procter & Gamble, big multinational, $67 billion sales company based here in the state of Ohio in Cincinnati. They have a war room that they call, which every week now, it used to be the case they would actually be, say, making diapers. Any idea how many diapers Procter & Gamble makes in a month? 2 billion. They would oftentimes wait 3 months to find out when they've made it, shipped it out to their out of their factories to their retail locations to find out something isn't selling and why. 3 months later, you now have about 12 billion excess inventory you have to now figure out what to do with. Now they do that on a weekly basis. And in this war room, they have all the analytics coming in for every bit of their supply chain, figuring out which product is coming in, which product is being sold, how that sales are occurring, so then they can decide on a moment's notice whether they need to put a coupon out to sell a certain inventory. Right? It's that aspect of data analytics which is important about being able to make an actionable insight in terms of the big data. whatever that actionable insight is, and hopefully by doing it with a significant degree of confidence. So you know that you're going to get the right answer. So what the Transitional Data Analytics entity at Ohio State is trying to do is really to create a community of faculty, community of graduate students and postdoctoral researchers who can actually come up with data-enriched solutions for real-world problems by helping to develop the tools and also being able to figure out how to translate that into new data analytics knowledge. And to do that, it's a very interdisciplinary program, obviously a big buzzword of late, very solution-focused. There were a lot of companies who are coming to Ohio State to be able to say, we need these solutions so that they can be competitive in their own environment. And of course, to do that, we need to have a lot of people. There are a lot of different emphases that are in the TDA program right now. Many of them, like big data, high-performance computing, cloud computing. A lot of those are big buzzwords in the recent past. Data mining, decision analysis are all important. You can have different aspects of, say, this decision analysis. For example, political science data. Think about President Obama in the last election figuring out which county in the state of Florida he had to win in order to win the whole state. These are all different examples of how you can do this in different sorts of contexts. But to do that, you might have to figure out how to do the machine learning so you could actually gather that data, collect it, and process it in a fast enough database with some sort of a high-performance computing engine, and then be able to then get to some sort of a decision where you know what you're going to do that hopefully will then be recalibrated and then proven to be successful. So there are components like statistics, computer science, engineering, all embedded within this area, but with applications to medicine, agriculture, as you'll see in a second. So the way that discovery themes with transitional data analytics has occurred so far for Ohio State has been mostly a faculty hiring initiative with about a hiring plan for about 40 to 50 faculty across a large number of different areas. For example, here's one. Arnab Nandi, assistant professor in computer science and engineering. You can read his research topic. But what he's really interested in doing is figuring out how to take large data sets with lots of noise and being able to figure out how do you store that data quickly so then you can analyze it even more quickly and be able to then figure out what the actionable insight happens to be. Work that he will do could certainly enable this other hire, Scott Scherer in our food, agriculture, and environmental sciences, as well as in food, agriculture, and biological engineering, as a joint effort between FAES as well as our College of Engineering. He's working on looking at what happens with phosphorus runoff. You saw perhaps in the news last summer with all the algal blooms that we had up in Lake Erie, and trying to understand what are the different sorts of practices that farmers are using, which then facilitate this massive growth of algae, which then create a variety of toxins that then kill wildlife in the lake and also minimize a significant amount of opportunity for us to go enjoy ourselves in the lake, which also has a huge economic penalty on the people who live in that area. So there are many consequences from the public health as well as the opportunity to keep people employed. So they're actually now combining two different types of solutions, using sensor technology to be able to analyze what's actually coming off from those different farms, and then the analytics to be able to figure out how you then predict what the downstream products are and what the impact is. And with the idea being that if everything's successful, you get better water quality for everyone, and you also maybe can even make farmers put less stuff onto a field that eventually has to run off. So there's so many different areas of emphasis with regard to transitional data analytics. There's a cybersecurity one for analyzing network data to keep us safe from terrorists. You have implementation and decision sciences from political data, Twitter information, sales information for a company like Kroger's or Macy's, and also in the digital humanities. So I have 4 children. It's amazing to me that whenever they get an assignment from school and they're asked to go find something, if they can't find it on Google, it does not exist. And so there's a significant amount of capacity to be able to perhaps take some of these aspects of the humanities and really digitize them. There's lots of different ways and interesting aspects of that, like how do you figure out what the 4th word is when somebody's typing into a Google text box? Because a search engine wants to get you that data back in a couple of microseconds. If you happen to not know what the fourth word is until you hit return, then it takes you 4 seconds to get the answer back. Somebody may have gone and looked at a different web page by then. So the speed of being able to interact with people is critical. And if you can actually guess what the fourth word is going to be before they type it and start to pre-search that, they get their data back faster, they stay in your engine, they may actually get ads, and you make money because you sold them some ads. Okay? A little twisted, but figuring out how to be able to optimize your overall value. So the end goal is really to establish Ohio as a global hub for everything in data analytics. And overall, the growth in data analytics right now is tremendous. The number of jobs is estimated to be something around 120,000 jobs are needed in this area. And as you'll see in a little bit, up until about 14 months ago, there were no undergraduate degrees in data analytics. So most of these companies were either hiring computer science and engineering type students and then trying to teach them everything else, or they were hiring statisticians and then teaching them what they needed. There were no degrees in data analytics. We are the first. I'll show that in a little bit. But the idea is to create that educated workforce and be able to provide value to the country and transform the world. So aspects of that value is we have a variety of courses in data science, because like I said, even though it's a new name, many people have been doing high-performance computing, machine learning, and data science for a long time. We have high rankings in funding and publishing in these areas already. We have a large number of faculty who are already associated with some aspect of data analytics. We already have 55 faculty associated just with TDA. And as I'll show you in a little bit, we have the first undergraduate degree in data analytics. So to make this successful, we really have to have the people. So we have a variety of different faculty who are associated with data analytics spanning the entire university, from geography and epidemiology, economics and statistics, all the way down into medicine, as well, hopefully also in social work. They also, with transitional data analytics, also trying to be able to provide a home for data analytics across the campus. To that end, you want to have tools that can help people to be able to analyze data, because you might not want to learn everything about how to do databases and data mining, high-performance computing, but hopefully you will have your expertise in your specific area. So they're providing tools in this portal, as well as in this data commons, to be able to do the analytics part of that data to be as easy as possible. And we're also doing a physical space. The university invested about $50 million into the renovation of Pomerine Hall, which used to be the first student union for the Ohio State University. It's a very interesting building since it actually has a swimming pool in the middle of the 3rd floor, as well as basketball courts and so on. And they're actually renovating Pomerine Hall to be the home of data analytics as part of this project. And then with programming, they're also hoping to create glue that will actually get people to work together in this sort of an interdisciplinary arena, because you really need a lot of different sorts of people. As a computational chemist, I do what I call a lot contract work for other people, where they would like to learn the answer to something, but they don't know how to use my tools. So I have to learn something about what they do, speak their language long enough to get what questions they care to know about, and then help them to get the answers that hopefully they want, or convince them that the answers that they got is really what it is, and what they thought it was wrong. That happens too. But that requires having some degree of veracity and confidence in how you come up with your answers. And so for that, data analytics wants to create this nexus of faculty. They also want to have these seed grants, which will be announced in September, being able to create teams that work together across different areas across the university in a very interdisciplinary way. They're also going to have a fall forum showcasing some of the data analytics work that's already on campus. And they're also going to work on developing these shared resources to be able to get that glue to work among new researchers. And for that, there's aspects of the undergraduate level, like the new undergraduates major, figuring out how to work with internships, as I'll explain in a second in terms of what the major has in it, as well as efforts at the graduate level. Turns out there are lots of graduate programs in data analytics around the country. We don't have any yet. We're going to work on that. whether that's going to be a combined bachelor's, master's degree, or whether we're going to work towards developing that, or perhaps certificates, being able to train the workforce who are working in a specific area or want to switch careers. So I want to talk a little bit now, and these actually are not a part of Philip's slides, but like I said, he's not here, so he can't defend himself. So this is a little description of what the undergraduate major is. It began in autumn of 2014 as an official degree approved by the Board of Regents. Like I said, it's the first one of its kind in the country. The nicest part about it is it actually came out as a collaboration between 4 colleges: Arts and Sciences, Engineering, Medicine, as well as the Fisher College of Business, where you're sitting right now. And it's a Bachelor of Science degree in Arts and Sciences, but it's led by both Computer Science and Engineering as well as our Department of Statistics. And it's really an interdisciplinary curriculum for really a modern major, with the intent of being able to, 1, create lifelong learners, as well as being able to educate a workforce which is in high demand right now in the country. So to do that, we have a core curriculum: calculus, linear algebra, computer science, some statistics, and then, interestingly, some visualization. Turns out Ohio State has a number of assets in this area that you might not know about. You all heard about Pixar, Industrial Light and Magic. Probably don't know, most of those people actually were trained here in a center we have called ACAD. So the father of computer graphics, a guy named Chuck Surrey, who actually spent his entire career here at Ohio State, and many of his graduates founded Pixar, Industrial Light and Magic, DreamWorks Entertainment, etc. If you want to be able to take data and be able to make an actionable decision, you've got to figure out how you're going to make that decision quickly. Staring at 15,000 numbers on an Excel spreadsheet will not be the best way to do that. So visualization is something that we want to be able to do. Then we have 3 specializations: 1 in biomedical informatics, 1 in business analytics out of Fisher, and then computational analytics mostly led out of engineering. And each of these has focus areas, so students can take a breadth of subject areas, or they can be focused purely in, say, cybersecurity. And then, one thing we took from engineering is actually engineers oftentimes do a capstone experience where they take all of their formative courses and then they try to apply it to a real-world problem that is brought to them preferably by an industry. And that's actually our capstone experience for this. So in collaboration with a number of companies, we've actually come up with some of these capstone courses, which will then be used to be able to assimilate all the information that the students have learned over their 4 years and be able to apply it. One example that Teradata actually brought to us, and they actually have videos on this, which is actually on YouTube. If you want to find it, you just go type in BSI, as in business science investigation compared to crime science investigation. And one of them is, there's an E. coli breakout here. Where in the food chain was the actual contamination? And they present the students all the information, and then they have to somehow figure out where the problem is. And I have about 10 of those types of videos up on YouTube. And we're hoping that across either business or health fields, runoff issues, as well as simply large data, we'll have lots of these real-world problems for the students to work on, not to mention they're getting great experiential learning to be able to get their first jobs. And the job prospects in this area are sort of scary. It's been described by a lot of different people in a variety of ways, but it's projected to have 120,000 job openings in about 3 years. And actually it stands right now, most of the companies we've talked to are just lapping up anybody that they can see who has any of this skill set, and they're starting with a 6-digit salary. And we actually consulted a variety of companies in the formation of this major. In terms of ethnicity, we need to do a little bit better when it comes to recruitment of the current students we have in the major. We have about 50 students in the major now. We are doing okay when it comes to male and female, which is actually not so bad, because many computer science departments, you'll see no females whatsoever. So we're actually not doing so bad in this area. In terms of the specializations, it's dominated by the business analytics side, with a bit in biomedical and a bit in computational. And then, interestingly, we have more women in the biomedical side, which is not atypical for an impact on the health profession. And then we mostly have male domination in the other 2 areas. So we're working towards being able to get more information. If you want to learn more about the major, you can just type that in, dataanalytics.osu.edu. You learn everything about the major you'd like to know. So going back to Philip's presentation now. So the other thing that TDA is also doing is developing partnerships with a lot of different people and trying to figure out how to do more feedback. So when you develop some implementation and practice, you can then use that to optimize your theories and your models to be able to then have many transdisciplinary faculty being able to optimize those communications, perhaps developing intellectual property, including new companies, generating jobs in the state of Ohio, and so on. And the Pomerene space is intended to be able to provide some of this ideation as well as project team space to build these teams and be able to foster success. So TDA is really an investment in all of you, trying to be able to develop tools that can benefit hopefully your life. You can get more information about TDA either by looking at their web information on the web available here. So discovery.osu.edu describes all of our discovery themes, all 8 of them. And the TDA will just do data analytics, or you can email them at tda@osu.edu. And as well, you can also contact them. Philip Payne is the faculty director, and David Monjo is his program manager. And like I said, here's their URL. If you want to learn more information, they would be more than happy to interact with you. So thank you very much for your patience. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Please.
Do you provide consultant services to faculty that have research projects with lots of data from multiple sources that's very, very messy?
So that's something that, so TDA is intent on doing that. So that's one of their goals, is to help people to analyze such data. Some of that can be done existingly with sort of the faculty who have such willingness. We also benefit by one other thing, which is we have an Ohio Supercomputer Center, and they also provide consulting in that regard. So, yes.
How do I contact?
I would just recommend you just contact Philip and get that process started.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you say anything more about the seed grants and what types of projects that the call might be looking for?
Actually, I don't know enough about that.
Okay.
I know they're coming. What I have heard in the past is that they would require at least 2 investigators working collaboratively. What I don't know is whether they're going to be, let's just say, highly restrictive, that it has to be 2 people in 2 different colleges, or if it's 2 people, could be in the same department. But I think the idea is to really begin new collaborations rather than just fostering something that would have happened anyway. But I don't know the specifics. Apparently it's going to be announced this coming month. Yes?
Can you update us on the faculty hires related to data analytics? Are there more faculty hires down the road?
So in the original submission for data analytics, there was about 53 or 55 that was supposed to occur. To my knowledge, there's been about 26, maybe 22 that have actually been hired thus far. And there's supposed to be now what is being called Wave 2. And different colleges honestly do things a little differently. So my College of Arts and Sciences does 1-year authorizations in hiring. So we're now reevaluating our hiring and figuring out what's in Wave 2. Other colleges like engineering does a 2-year cycle, for which this is already year 2. So they already knew what they wanted, so they're already online. So it really depends. I think the goal is to be able to hire approximately the same number that has been hired thus far. I hired 9 this past year out of the natural and mathematical sciences who are loosely tied or directly tied to data analytics, with diversity representation as well. Another thing we try to focus on. Okay, thank you very much.